instances of unwelcome behavior that constitute sexual harassment at the place. These can be broadly defined as physical contact and advances, a demand or request for sexual favors, sexually colored remarks, showing pornography, any other unwelcome physical, verbal, or non-verbal conduct of sexual nature. Now, the first thing about that appeals to a discerning citizen is that the lawmakers decided not to burden the existing judicial infrastructure with this new jurisdiction, but to delegate the responsibility for the enforcement of this act to the workplace where women might be harassed. Any aggrieved women can file a complaint of sexual harassment to the internal committee within 3 months of the incident. Also, where the aggrieved woman is unable to make a complaint due to her physical incapacity, her legal head, her friend, her relatives, even the National Commission for Women or State Women's Commission, they can make a complaint to the IC on her behalf with her permission. This act also provides that if a victim is dissatisfied with the findings of IC, she can appeal to a court or a tribunal. Looks perfect. Not really. The lacunae in the Posh Act were brought to the fore by the Me Too movement. If everything at the workplace is hunky-dory, why the Me Too? Anushri Datta, a popular film actor, stirred up a hornet's nest by starting the Indian Me Too movement. In the aftermath, more women came forward with their complaints against men in seats of power, in various institutions, in entertainment, media, advertising, and so on and so forth. Me Too forced prominent women to review the Posh. In 2018, the National Commission for Women held a review meeting on the Posh. Eminent law experts like judges Sujata Manohar, G. Rohini, Anuradha Paul, Assistant Solicitor General of India, and other stakeholders participated in the deliberations. The panel reached the conclusion that the Act is not clear on prevention, and that there is no authority to ensure a proper mechanism for monitoring its implementation. I have some more issues with the Posh. To me, this act smacks of gender bias. It talks about female sex harassment, overlooking the problems of male and transgender harassment. The act also fails to cover the women who were employees of the institution at the time of harassment, but were terminated due to one or the other reasons before they got a chance and an opportunity to file a complaint. And when I say due to one or the other reasons, it could very well be the reason of sexual harassment. The Act defines sexual harassment as any form of unwelcome sexual behavior that is offensive, humiliating, or intimidating. So it imparts a kind of ambiguity. The ambiguity combined with this subjective approach that the law takes makes it imperative that the IC be constituted judiciously. Otherwise, the purpose will be defeated. One of the critical concerns in sexual harassment cases is ensuring the maintenance of confidentiality. The Posh Act necessitates that the identities of both the complainant and the accused be protected. However, the SHE box, which is Sexual Harassment Electronic Box, it's a portal, the SHE box portal, meant to lodge complaints, breaks all norms of confidentiality. It requires names of the complainant and the accused, as well as of the head of the organization to be furnished. The portal provides no safeguards against unauthorized disclosure of the data shared, and in fact expressly specifies on its terms and conditions page that the ministry cannot even be held accountable for any data breach. This raises a red flag from a confidentiality standpoint, particularly since there is no clarity on who within the ministry can access this information. Further, there is no scope for the IC to take a suo motu cognizance of an incident and proceed with an investigation. From a victim's perspective, having the discretion is welcome because there may be instances where the victim is wary of filing a formal complaint, fearing retaliatory action, or simply is not willing to subject herself to recounting the details of the incident of sexual harassment repeatedly during the formal inquiry. As a coordinator of the IC in my university, I feel the redressal mechanism has also many underpinnings. The provision of conciliation needs to be reviewed. Is it even possible at all to reconcile with a sexual predator? Also, this could be a high-risk proposition, as there could be an allegation at a later stage that the complainant was coerced into conciliation. Then, this act gives the IC the same powers as the civil court is invested with, for enforcing attendance of witness and for maintaining records. However, IC members are not judges and they lack experience to undertake such inquiries. Hence, a training might be provided to IC members for a proper discharge of their duties. The provision of absolute confidentiality on the part of the complainant and the management and the IC is again a big challenge in times of social media. Many a times it has been seen that the complainant starts blogging about their plight while at the same time pursuing the matter of the IC. Also, since it's the same organization, at times it is seen that the matter becomes an open secret within the organization. Then, past consensual relationship has also been seen as a challenge in the functioning of the IC. Sometimes it is that the IC members know of a past history between the complainant and the respondent, and yet in the absence of evidence, not much can be done in this direction. Since IC members cannot be witnesses, they are rendered helpless even when they know it all. Organizations where sexual harassment has not been recognized as misconduct under the service rules find it even more difficult to handle such cases. And lastly, I would say, in the wake of the pandemic, we are living in a new normal day. Cyber workplace harassment has become a new menace. It is much needed then to extend the protection of POSH to digital workspaces so as to provide similar protection to the victims as exists in physical workplaces. The intent of the legislature behind the POSH Act was to ensure that equality of status and equal protection of law is afforded to working women in the country. The dynamic approach herein would be to broaden the scope of the definition of workplace, to ensure inclusion of telework and afford protection from any form of unwanted sexual advances in cyberspace. It would also be pertinent to note here that since such an act of sexual harassment happens in a cyberspace on an electronic platform, an added layer of protection of the Information Technology Act 2000 is also extended in this regard. Section 67 of the IT Act prescribes punitive measures for publishing and transmitting obscene content on an electronic platform. I must mention that laws are in place and so are mechanisms. Our utopian imagination, however, seems to be an issue. Lawmakers and enforcers shall have to remember that we don't need a law in a utopian world. It is only the world of infirmity and capriciousness which needs legal regulations, and that should be a point to consider before drafting legislation. Also, laws alone will not be of much consequence unless women, for whose benefit these have been enacted, also rise to the occasion and assert their rights firmly, whenever and wherever their rights are either ignored or suppressed. I would like to conclude by appealing on women to understand that silence was never a virtue. If a case of harassment does not get reported, legal proceedings cannot be initiated, and therefore the protection extended by law cannot be availed of. So my appeal to women would be to speak up. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your knowledgeable and wisdom on a particular theme. Yes, you have said very rightly that many laws have been made, but the problem is that many times and sometimes laws have not been used by the women for their protection or safety. Women have become weak to claim their rights and protection. Law alone cannot work unless women talk or come forward for their rights and protection. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your putting your white and clarified version or the vision. Thank you so much, ma'am. Now, I would invite the participants for their queries. Please, one by one, ask your question. And first of all, please unmute your mic and then ask your question. All the participants, one by one, please. Is there any query you can ask here or drop your queries in the chat box? I have received one question. Am I audible to all the speaker?
Very much.
I have received one question to all the speakers. Anyone can answer it. What do you think about the liberation of women in social life? There's a question from the one participant that what do you think about the liberation of women in social life?
Liberation.
I did liberation of women in social life.
Yes, ma'am. Liberation.
So, anybody answering?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, I would just like to say one thing because this is a very broad question. Okay, so you can't really approach it from any particular angle, but if you wish on the same abstract level, what I would like to say, and especially in response to Professor Toby's wonderful presentation, is that it is totally one thing that there is a law introduced, put in place, and it's a totally different thing whether that law is enforced. And what I usually see is that the trick lies precisely in the discrepancy or the rupture between having a particular act voted in versus whether what follows from the logic of that act in the name of law enforcement, which does not necessarily follow through, or it does not necessarily follow within the same logic. And the other thing that I would like to add is that it is one thing to talk about structural institutional arrangement of inequality versus looking at particular people's behavior, if you wish, whether they are willing or unwilling to live with the consequences or the entitlements of the structural arrangement. So I really understand that what we are dealing with is not actual particular people in the first place, but their social positions and what they can or cannot do, what they are entitled to do within that space. And I take Professor Toby's appeal to women according to this logic. If there is something put in place, both in the sense of enforcement, okay, then that's a space where as an individual you can step in and go ahead and make use of it. That would be my contribution.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for clarifying the doubts of our participants or clarifying the queries of our participants. There is one more question to our second speaker, Dr. Maria Lucia, ma'am. Am I audible to you, ma'am? Okay, I think ma'am is not there.
She is very much there, but she is muted.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. So there is question. I'll hand over to Dr. Azrat ma'am again for the question. Protection of women is needed. No denying the fact, but the laws have turned its blind eye towards the other genders, coming from the very conservative definition of legal system, like the queer or trans people or intersex or gender fluid or agender. How do we address this problem?
Okay, thank you very much for asking that. In a way, in my talk, I was trying to address the problem in the sense, okay, that as soon as we understand gender to be the inevitable consequence of a biologically dictated and in that sense not social in any sense of the word organization of sexuality, okay, then we encounter a problem. And I would say that we have been faced with this problem ever since the Beijing Women's World Conference back in 1995, when all the representatives of different organizations to this UN conference, okay, came together, okay, to sign a declaration. And there was the first moment, if you wish, in modern history, in the wake of feminist achievements, to attack the concept of gender, coming in the first place actually from the Vatican back then, okay, in the name of, okay, reinforcing an obvious binary distinction according to the Vatican logic that is dictated by some supernatural power, okay, i.e. the Christian God, but it is not that much different from arguing that something is dictated by biology. So there are all kinds of civil organizations, okay, globally organizing themselves, even if the difference, sort of like the differences vary with cultural contexts. Like I'm aware of the specific position of hijras in India, for one thing, for instance. But it's another thing whether what we expect in the name of change and how fast we think these changes should happen. So in a way, I think social life, no matter how dynamic we understand it to be, it is an ongoing struggle. So I would not expect anything, okay, to happen overnight. So my appeal, if you wish, okay, to ourselves, all the participants, would be also to understand this and to be committed to an ongoing struggle, and not to be idealistic in the sense that if we organize ourselves, then there will be some change very quickly, and that change would be definitive once and for all. That's not what I have seen over my 20 years of academic research in this field. Thank you for the question.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think now all the participants are very much clear about this particular question. Now there is one more question to Professor Ashok madam. There is question from Om Prakash Upadhyay ji, who is more responsible for the women's present position, that is lawmakers or law implementing agency or the society?
Thank you, Dr. Upadhyay, for the question. Oh, am I? Yes, I think I am audible.
Yes,
So I would say the answer can to say that this party or that party is responsible for whatever we are in today would be rather too simplistic. And what is society after all? It is you and it is me. So I will not lay the onus on the law-making agencies, because law-making agencies are men and women again. And I will not put on the blame on the law enforcers. It is all about your evolution, the evolution of a race, the evolution of us as Indians, the evolution of the society. With the evolution comes the change in the mindset. But the prerequisite for that change is not to just imagine or dream of a change, but to slowly and gradually and sincerely keep working towards that change. And that is why I said that enough of silence now. First of all, the thing is that you have to fight your own battle. So if it is the battle of a woman, then she has to fight. It is women's battle, and women have been fighting it, and we have to fight it. We have to go on fighting it. We don't ask men to fight it for us. We only request men not to put hindrances in this fight, to be a little sensible. Sensitization of a society as a whole, I think, is the answer to all else. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Yes, I too agree with your point that there is no time to blame anyone, but women itself have to way forward or come forward for their safety, protection, and claiming their right. There is one more question from Chandramukhi Pal. Do you think that the current feminist fulfill their advocacy role on women's rights and social awareness? Do you think that the current feminist revolts fulfill their advocacy role on women's rights and social awareness?
Who is this question targeted at? Like who do you want to answer this?
There is from Chandramukhi Pal, and she want to ask about that. What is the impact of the feminist role on the role of advocacy of the women to fight that? Means, I think she want to ask that women itself is not playing a role for the women. Because if she has become advocate, she has women have to fight for the rights of the other women. I think this is her question. What I can understand. So you can answer now.
Shall I, or do you want the other expert?
Go ahead, Asha, because I think it speaks to India.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Elizabeth. So I would, again, I do not believe in the concept of me fighting your battle or you fighting my battle. So I will not simply say that women in the position of power must fight the battle for the others. But the only thing is that women who have been put in decision-making positions, who have been voted, who have been given power by us, they must keep working towards the betterment of society. I won't say the betterment of women, but when you work towards the development of a society, you cannot ignore women. All this while, the development, the evolution has been so lopsided. We have only thought of everything from a man's perspective. Man has thought of things, man has imagined things, and they have designed things. So as small things as you enter into a washroom, so many offices you will see, you enter into a washroom and you have a lady's bag in your hand and you do not know where to hang it because all the pegs are like so high. You are not as tall as a man. So everything around us is man-centric, and that has to change. And of course, women will change by giving their inputs at least, by objecting to things, by voicing their opinion, by not believing that to protect your honor, you have to be silent. Now, silence is not a virtue. In India, this is a big problem. Women have a martyrdom syndrome. They think that if they sacrifice their interests for the family, they will actually go gaga about it. That I have done this much. I left my job. I do not eat before my husband has eaten. I do everything for my children because they are supreme. Always have to remember, you are supreme. Women are supreme. Your own self is supreme. When you live for yourself, you actually make things better for others too. Who wants to take that burden that you have sacrificed things for them? If somebody were to tell me, I sacrificed my life or my career or whatever for you, I will feel demeaned. I will feel humiliated. I don't want your sacrifice. I can cater to my own needs. I can live independently. This is what I think women need to know. Thank you so much.
Can I say just one thing here, please?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Yeah. Because in my examples, okay, like I mentioned that there are now, okay, the current regime has been in power for 10 years, 11 years now, okay? 11 years. It was only in July 2019, okay, and June 2020 that we had two women members of the cabinet. Until then, it was men only. Now you read that as a feminist achievement, but you can also read that when you look at okay, what those cabinet members are supposed to represent and do. Actually, as a very tricky situation, because you can't accept what they propose, because what they propose is very bad for women. So, in that sense, then there is also that's what I'm saying, the trick on behalf of any power regime, okay, to manipulate, okay, this appeal, okay, this argument that now we have women in the cabinet, why are not you pleased with that? That is a sign of improvement. And you can't say that is a sign of improvement. So in that sense, there again, if I am expected to be happy about that change, I'm expected to be happy about it in the name of some biology. Whereas I would be happy with the change in the name of gender equality, which is not a matter of biology. So in that sense, I would be more than happy to see men politicians, okay, to fight against their own privileges, if you wish. So these are really tricky questions that you really have to be together, okay, not to be cornered, okay, which is the usual tactics, okay, in social debates in the public. Thank you.
Thank you so much to both of you. Yes, you both are right that first of all, before claiming the rights and the safety from the others, women itself respect herself and give priority to her interest. And thank you so much to all of our speakers for raising this particular event. Now I would like to request Tapanji for a vote of thanks.
Everybody, on behalf of my entire team, I feel privileged to give you a really heartfelt thanks to the Chief Chancellor of Vice Chancellor, Rohilkhand University, Bareilly, Professor K.P. Singh, sir, in absentia. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your support and motivation. I would like to show my deep sense of gratitude towards the first speaker, Dr. Barat, University of Budapest, Hungary, for her enthusiastic lecture and kind concern. We are really thankful to the Professor Maria Molina from Federal University of London. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your valuable time. We are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence. My sincere and heartfelt thanks to the speaker, Professor Chobe, for her energetic presentation and experience. Thank you all. Thank you all for raising the occasion, and sharing the opinions today. I feel pleasure to quote my book. Thanks to the convener, Dr. Amit Singh sir, and Professor Nivedita Srivastava madam, and organizing secretary Dr. Ashok Kumar. They are always ready to give their support and preparation whenever needed. A special thanks to Ms. Amni Mr. for answering the event and making the event comfortable and easy. I would thank to the whole of my organizing committee, Prasoon Trivedi, Shukla, Aman Khan, and Vendra, who has worked hard to execute this event and made it successful. Last but not the least, heartfelt thanks to the participants for their active participation and presence. And this warm word, with this warm message, we move to the end of the seminar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tapanji. With this, we are ending the session and wish your support and motivation for our future events. Thanks to all the speakers, guests, and all the participants again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Really. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.